Welcome to WrestleReward, the show that looks at whether the wrestle was worth the reward. Clever, right? I'm Justin, and today's episode covers Judgment Day 2003 from May 19th Eve, May 18th at the Charlotte Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. Throughout the episode, I'll be giving out very special awards for the best and worst in everything, from match, moment, commentary, outfit, and anything else I can think of. Let's start the show. The opening match is a six-man tag with a grab bag of trios that would put Battle Bull to shame, as we see Rhyno, Brian Kendrick in his WWE pay-per-view debut, and Chris Benoit versus Chuck Palumbo and Johnny the Bull Stamboli of Nunzio's newly formed FBI, alongside the Doctor of Thugonomics himself, John Cena. Would it really be a WWE show without a thrown-together John Cena tag team, though? With Stamboli and Palumbo an established tag team, Cena looks to ingratiate himself into the family with an Italian-inspired freestyle.
I changed my name to Corleone like a Godfather flick. Your girl likes Italian sausage because she swallowed my...
The match comes about from the FBI's recent feud with the team of Benoit and Rhyno, which actually began over the FBI demanding that Benoit reimburse them for losing a match to Cena that the FBI had bet big bucks on Benoit to win. Brian Kendrick comes into the picture after unleashing his rap alter ego Spanky in an attempt to usurp Cena's throne as the whitest kid you know. Kendrick starts the match off hot, taking out the Cena-blooded Italians with a big-time dive to the floor, then taking Cena's head off with an enziguri. The FBI cuts Kendrick off, though, to conduct a trust fall without the trust part, before Palumbo grabs Kendrick to ask, "Hey, where's my hug?" Kendrick gets worked over by the FBI for a while, but finally escapes long enough for the hot tag to Benoit, who absolutely crunches Cena on a German suplex before double-dipping on Palumbo and hitting the flying headbutt for good measure. As things start running wild, Rhyno runs his shoulder directly into Nunzio's sternum before Rhyno and Stamboli both get blindsided out of the ring, and Cena takes control of Benoit, who gets blind tagged by Kendrick out of the Bret Hart turnbuckle whip to hit a blindside missile dropkick onto John Cena. The future WWE champion has his breakout win stolen by the modern-day mobsters, though, who utilize a medieval guillotine leg drop for the upset win at a breakneck speed of 4 minutes, appropriate with Rhyno and Benoit in the match, as Cena looks on shocked at his team's win, and Kendrick is left with only his face, leaking various fluids. Meanwhile, Eric Bischoff joins his fellow co-GM of Raw Steve Austin in Stone Cold Skybox to watch the show. Bischoff insists on his beer coming from a fresh cup, foretelling the plight of 2020.
You think there's germs on the can?
Yeah, there's germs on it. You don't ever know who touched that can.
Raw tags in next for a tag team match pitting the new team of Test and Scott Steiner with Stacy Keibler at the helm against a duo that is also making its pay-per-view debut tonight, who is deriding the US government for encouraging contempt of France over the country's refusal to support America's 2003 invasion of Iraq. That leads us to our very first award winner of the night, as this flag emblazoned set of cheeks takes home the Sign of the Times award for best, worst, most interesting sign of the night. Out comes Team Stest, formed by Test's business manager / girlfriend Stacy Keibler against his wishes after watching his single success dry up and seeing potential in Big Papa Pump being Test's hookup. Steiner had his own issues afoot, though, earning the wrath of the debuting Frenchmen Sylvain Grenier and Rene Dupree after comments made during an Iraq war debate on Raw, which aged just as well as you think it did.
The Dixie Chicks are those Hollywood numbnuts that don't support our troops can go straight to hell. Or France, same difference.
We also see the debut of the French tickler, though Test isn't impressed with the choreography. Test takes Dupree into the corner, and after a tag is taken into another, where he finds himself as an unlucky Pierre in a menage a trois with Scott Steiner's chops and clubs.
Are you ready for a menage a trois?
What's that?
I thought you understood French.
Steiner Sawa then wrecks Sylvain and uses both arms to sneak in a quick workout, followed by Sylvain sneaking in a clothesline off the middle rope, but Dupree gets cocky and goes for a double play, and instead, we get our first Steiner suplex of the match. Dupree and Steiner reach their respective corners to get the fresh man in, and Test looks like a beast off the hot tag, wiping out La Resistance all on his own like the proverbial house of fire that he is, but gets his pin broken up. Test then borrows the beret of Dupree, but soon decides he's actually more of a fedora man, as Steiner clears the ring with a suplex to Sylvain so Test can hit Dupree with the pump handle slam, but oh my god! Steiner accidentally distracted the referee. Test goes to ask Nick Patrick what the hell happened at Starrcade 97, and Sylvain capitalizes with a dropkick which sends Test into Stacy into the arms of Steiner, a recurring theme in the recent tag matches drawing out the jealousy of Test. Test gets rolled up but kicks out, and Steiner attempts to clean up his mess by blind tagging in and awkwardly setting up a suplex deep in the corner, but after it's broken up gets accidentally struck by the best big boot in the business. Test then gets posted, and a double flapjack from the Frenchman turns Steiner into toast as Sylvain Grenier pins Scott Steiner to keep La Resistance undefeated. Stacy tends to her fellow Nitro alumnus but nearly has her arm pulled out of the socket as Test leads her away from the fallen Freakzilla, and we get our one perfect shot from this segment. Back to SmackDown with a ladder match for the WWE Tag Team title, but more importantly, this match features the inaugural winners of the prestigious Golden Turtleneck Award for Best Fit of the Night, as we see defending champion Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas rocking those incredible reversible Team Angle tracksuits, going up against that classic Los Guerreros team we all know and love, Eddie Guerrero and Tajiri. He's filling in for Chavo Guerrero after he tore his biceps the weekend before in England. This rivalry dates back to February when Haas and Benjamin beat Los Guerreros for the titles 2 months after debuting on the main roster, and after retaining at WrestleMania in a 3-way, also including Rhyno and Benoit, Team Angle stole another win over the Guerreros at Backlash in April, which Eddie and Chavo responded to with the family mantra by stealing the gold medals that this photo of Kurt Angle won in 1996. Both teams skip the foreplay and dive right in, like Eddie's head diving into that ladder and Eddie's abdomen diving into Haas's knee. Team Angle makes their maiden voyage up the ladder, but crash land when Tajiri flexes on everyone with handspring double back elbows into the ladder. Haas is subjected to an experimental vasectomy procedure with the ladder, and then Eddie making him the meat of a ladder sandwich, which actually seems like it would hurt Eddie more. Just in case it didn't, this power slam definitely did. With Tajiri laying prone on one ladder, Shelton goes back up top to perform the first of what would be many ladder dives in his career, which Eddie apparently didn't appreciate Charlie trying to steal the shine off of. Tajiri soon applies the tarantula to Haas, but instead of putting a plastic bowl over it, Shelton decides to squash that spider with a ladder. Team Angle is then hoisted by their own petard with this clever monkey flip spot, and Eddie goes to finish them off for good. First, a frog splash off the ladder onto Shelton, and then he goes back up top to hit a sunset flip bomb onto Charlie Haas, which is almost as good as his son Dominic's. Like every good horror movie villain, Shelton comes back to life for one final scare, but gets double tapped through the ladder by Tajiri's miss to improbably allow Eddie and Tajiri to win the Tag Team Championship in this car crash match with a fun clash of styles. And shout out to this dude in the crowd rocking a Torrie shirt in 2003, which I didn't even know existed in 1999. Meanwhile, in the skybox, Eric Bischoff eats a hamburger. Elsewhere, it's the biggest talk show clash since Jay and Dave, with Piper's Pit host Roddy Piper and the highlight reel's Chris Jericho, who during his AEW title reign in 2020 was the same age as Roddy Piper in 2003, meeting each other.
You took a wrong turn. The senior citizens' home is down the street, Grandpa.
The next match is Raw's 9-man Battle Royal for the returning IC title, the last scene being absorbed by Triple H in a title versus title match at No Mercy 2002, along with the remains of Kane's momentum following the Katie Vick saga. The return of the 23-year-old championship was one of Stone Cold's first decisions as the new co-GM of Raw, bringing things full circle from the time he threw the Intercontinental title into the river on Raw's War. Also making the return in this match was Val Venis, having recently been fired from the post he held for 6 months as Sean Morley, Eric Bischoff's chief of staff. All the entrants in this match are a former Intercontinental champion except for Booker T, who was added by Stone Cold after Theodore Long suggested adding a person of color to the match. Write your angry letters about affirmative action now, pickup truck Twitter. Kane starts the match off by being a bad friend who wipes out his own World Tag Team title partner Rob Van Dam, but then suffers the 7-on-1 onslaught usually reserved for incognito tabs at 2 a.m. He does manage to roar his way out of it long enough to eliminate Calgary, Alberta, Canada's Lance Storm, who was apparently holding everyone else back, as Kane is clipped in the knee by RVD's Revenge and dumped out seconds later by the rest of the field. The Big Red Crybaby gets back into the ring though and lays waste to everyone, including a receipt for his own partner. Test is then quickly thrown out for his second L of the night, followed by Venus's premature exit and then RVD's too, in an elimination to piss off the fans even more than Van Dam being pinned in the Extreme Elimination Chamber.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
After getting his former tag title partner to give us a spinneroonie, Goldust kills the illusion of friendship being possible in this dark dystopian world by trying to eliminate his best friend, only to have it turned around on him. Luckily though, all is forgiven. The theme of every man for himself continues as Jericho gets launched out of the ring by his former tag title partner Christian during a lion salt attempt, and so begins one of the most convoluted finishes in history. Christian accidentally dropkicks Chad Patton, who for convenient plot purposes is the only referee overseeing this battle royal. Booker eliminates Christian to cause his music to play but not the bell. Pat Patterson, the inaugural IC champion here to award the winner the gold, gets dropped by Christian at ringside, who then takes the belt, hits Booker in the face with it, and dumps him out in front of a resuscitated Chad Patton to officially win the match and instantly kill the credibility of this championship. Christian getting a makeover the next day makes sense, as I'd want to cleanse myself of that finish ASAP too. Up next is a segment for teens without a computer in their room and spouses with nowhere to hide a magazine. It's the SmackDown Bikini Challenge! After getting our real sports feel with this uncomfortably detailed tale of the tape, Raw's Lillian Garcia opens the forbidden door to sing Torrie to the ring, and Sable looks to prove she's the top playmate in WWE by showing off why Brock Lesnar wants to stay home 9 months of the year, leaving Jerry Lawler feeling verklempt. Like an influencer's hashtag ad post, Torrie responds with a Playboy Bunny branded bikini, ironically less revealing than most diva outfits in this era, which draws the disapproval of the crowd, and especially this guy. Anticipating such a response, Torrie goes to unveil her real bikini, causing a reaction from Spanish announcer Carlos Guerrero that wins the aptly named in this case, Don West Creamer Award for Best Call of the Night.
He missed the frog splash bike and creamed himself out! Oh yeah! Mamma mia! Que pasó?
And with that, Torrie successfully avoids the kissing your sister result of a tie by winning and kissing Sable instead. A callback to what started the feud when Sable returned, and elating all in the arena, especially this guy. Meanwhile, back in the skybox, Eric Bischoff eats pocket pizza. Look in the ring, it's a WrestleMania 1. No, it's a Halloween Havoc 1997. No, it's the year of our Lord 2003 as Roddy Piper takes on Hulk Hogan's alter ego, Mr. America. What is a Mr. America, you ask? After beating Mr. McMahon at WrestleMania 19 to save his career in a match 20 years in the making, despite Piper and his pipe's surprise return to WWE during that match, Vince responded to the loss by handling his Hogan problem with a peek into the future of how he'd deal with other malcontents.
I'm gonna pay you every dollar you've got in your contract. Yes, I am. I'm gonna pay you, Hogan, to stay at home.
But a few weeks later, it was revealed SmackDown GM Stephanie McMahon had won a bidding war with Raw over signing exciting new prospect Mr. America sight unseen to a Big Show-esque ironclad contract, angering her father and reinforcing the epidemic that is corporate nepotism. Despite doing things Hogan would never do, like respect a black man, Mr. McMahon was convinced, and with proving Hogan was under the mask the only way to fire Mr. America, Vince enlisted Roddy Piper after seeing him yank Mr. America stan Zach Gowen's leg off. With Sean O'Haire inexplicably paired alongside Piper at the time, Mr. America tries to even the odds by bringing out his #1 fan, Zach Gowen. Hogan and Piper work a match with stomps, punches, kicks, punches, weight belts, and punches, but no bumps until Piper eats a big boot 4 minutes in this 5-minute match. It also included a 70-second sleeper hold, something Michael Cole thought impossible on a man wearing a piece of fabric on his face, as we get this show's Art Donovan Nighttime Achievement Award winner for Worst Call of the Night.
How much does this guy weigh? There's 600 pounds there, Art. Huh? 600 pounds plus.
Well, can you get a grip in the sleeper hold with that mask?
Yeah, I think you can. Piper's wrestled for about, so many millions, long years, you know what I mean?
With Piper prone on the mat from the aforementioned big boot, Vince emerges for the distraction in Mr. America's low blow, setting up a pipe shot to bring it all full circle that's ducked and allows Mr. America to connect with another of his trusty punches and drop the leg. Zach Gowen cops a feel of Vince's games on the apron to keep him from breaking the pin as Mr. America wins, but Vince is also winner because this intro means it's time for the Gift of the Gods Award, honoring the most giveable moment of a show, which in this case was Vince's reaction to being outsmarted by the one-legged wrestling fan in an ass-kicking contest. It was the best of times, and it was also the worst of times, as the match dubbed Age in the Cage when it happened in 1997 also takes home the Saudi Special Award for Worst Match on this night in 2003, making it very fitting that there was a fan in the crowd wearing a Washington Wizards Michael Jordan jersey. Still love you though, Roddy. Alright, the slowpokes are gone, and now it's time for a real main event. Oh no. Nash wanted to get the clique back together, Triple H didn't, and now they're feuding. That's about it. This feud wasn't setting the world on fire. Kevin Nash's second Shawn Michaels comes out like you'd expect Shawn Michaels to, though it's not as fun knowing he isn't coked up for it like in the 90s, allegedly. Shawn thanks Earl Hebner in the ring to ensure Bret Hart stays away a few more years, and now it's big by God sexy time. Look at that pyro! Get Brock out here too and put both belts on Nash. JR then completely misreads Kevin Nash's personality.
Kevin Nash good for both. I think would rather fight a man than make love to a woman.
And out comes Ric Flair in Charlotte, North Carolina to be Triple H's heel manager, which clearly was not going to work, which is probably why he and Shawn brawled to the back a minute into this match. Triple H gets some really cool pyro, but the one time I actually want to watch a Triple H entrance, Nash runs up on him. Big Sexy avoids having to bump for a bit by brawling around ringside and then foils Triple H's multiple escape plans so X-Division pioneer Kevin Nash can hit not one, not two, but 3 straight standing elbow drops to the purple push eater. Hunter gets desperate with an eye rake and then shoves down his true arch nemesis Earl Hebner to start a theme in this match. Nash shoots Triple H into the ropes and gets swung into a neckbreaker, though he does make a comeback to mount Triple H and shove Earl away himself, resulting in Hebner breaking it by grabbing Nash's hair like it's secondhand merch to sell. Earl gets thanked with an accidental shot by Triple H, who goes for a high kick to Nash that backfires. Until it doesn't, and the ref being down allows Hunter to hit one low to Big Sexy's Little Sexy. Hunter exposes the top turnbuckle but gets hit with a big boot, and then poor Earl is palmed by the head by Nash, whose own head crashes into the steel before it crashes into the mat from a pedigree that he does kick out of. Triple H reaches for his trusty sledgehammer, which Earl forbids, but Triple H helps Brett warm up to that Hall of Fame induction by sledging Hebner in the neck. The spirit of Earl Hebner calls for a DQ a mere 6 minutes into this pay-per-view world title match, much to the crowd's chagrin, though they do get Nash finishing the job on Triple H with the jackknife powerbomb. As Triple H is carried out, we get an image far too powerful of Kevin Nash pulling the straps down with one hand while holding a sledgehammer in the other. It mysteriously vanishes though as Nash picks off more referees to lay out Hunter, Ric Flair, and even his own friend HBK before jackknifing Triple H through the Raw announce table. And may I add, announce table breaks look way cooler when everything on them hasn't been picked off first. Meanwhile, in the skybox,
He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke! He's gonna puke!
time now for the official Raw main event of this pay-per-view, a women's title match sandwiched between the two men's world title matches. It's a WrestleMania 19 rematch pitting the First Lady of Stevie Night Heat Victoria, who lost the title at WrestleMania to Trish Stratus, who lost the title at Backlash to Theodore Long's client Jazz, and for some reason Jacqueline, who wasn't in the Mania match and hadn't won a match since beating Molly Holly a month earlier on an episode of Heat, which also featured a great Teddy Long promo.
Ain't this the same white boy we wrestled last week? I mean, I don't know, because all white people look alike to me, you feel me?
The match begins with Stevie Richards grabbing at a woman's foot, becoming the envy of countless Google image searchers. After a quick round of do-si-do that takes down Victoria and Jazz, Victoria yanks Trish out of the ring to send her careening to the steel post, while back in the ring, Jackie butterfly suplexes Jazz. Victoria intervenes with a spider's web, which is a move I've always loved, but now Jazz is back in business to bitch clamp both Victoria and Jacqueline, before Trish rises like a Beth Phoenix to go for a chick kick that Jazz catches and turns into a painful STF, inspiring a young John Cena backstage. The same fate befalls Victoria, whose cake is caught and fashioned into a single leg crab to give us a double submission situation that ends with Trish's rope break, causing Jazz to kick Jackie out of her submission and lock an STF onto Victoria. Trish drop kicks Jazz out of that, and May Trishes her way into finally getting that kick as she looks on the verge of winning back the women's title, but absolutely eats it as Victoria hurls her face first into the floor. The match continues to peak with Jacqueline turning the Widow's Peak into a Northern Lights pin, but Jazz then turns into a running splash and an underwhelming DDT finish to pin Jacqueline in 4 minutes and 47 seconds, 48 more seconds than it took her to beat Jacqueline in another women's title match airing this same night on the international version of Sunday Night Heat. Teddy shows Charles Robinson how to really raise a hand as Trish comes up bloody from a match not given much build or time, but did well with what it had. She may not have won the title, but at least Trish still has that magnificent Aqua fit.
Aqua?
And in our main event, it's what Stephanie McMahon called the most barbaric match in wrestling history. It's a stretcher match? The lead up to it saw Big Show use a stretcher-bound Rey Mysterio for batting practice after beating him a month prior at Backlash.
Backlash!
Yes, Backlash. And now locker room leader Brock Lesnar is defending both Rey's honor and his championship. It's the Big Show! Out with the stretcher board used on Rey, which sadly wasn't Big Show size like Big Show's big chair. Hashtag Big Show's big chair. Brock enters with pyro, making him feel like an actual demon sent from hell ready for war, and then the match begins, with Big Show swinging just a bit outside, allowing Brock to drive Show out with the board. Big Show cuts off Lesnar's charge and props up the board to drive Brock's head into it, but instead, Lesnar escapes to bounce Show right off the board and then ram the mid-holster right in his face, because Brock is awesome like that. Lesnar gets Show back in the ring, but soon regrets it as he suffers a chokeslam and is shot into the air off a leg drop like they're on a slam ball court. Brock fights off the stretcher but does get clotheslined across the yellow line, which unlike in football is official in this match. Lesnar fights back though to put Big Show down long enough to grab a camera cord and choke him unconscious like a sub without a safety word, as murderous rage radiates throughout his body. Brock loads Show onto the stretcher but nearly rips his head from his shoulders in trying to win, and Brock keeps being awesome by playing Jungle Gym with the set and spearing Show with his body. Lesnar goes to lift the 900-pound giant in front of 235,000 screaming Brockamaniacs dude, and does so to body slam him. Brock then gets into a tug-of-war which goes even worse for him than the one with Roman Reigns did. Big Show then follows up with a running hug into the steel post, but as Show gets back into the ring, Brock sends him crashing into and off of the stretcher before suddenly heading backstage with a grin on his face and an idea in his head. Hey, it's Rey Mysterio, he's back, he's finally gonna get in there and get his own revenge on the Big Show. Oh, But nothing else in the world matters because Brock Lesnar is driving a forklift to the ring. In all the chaos, Ray hops on Big Show for a piggyback ride, and then we get the greatest sentence in the English language: Brock Lesnar jumps off the forklift. Brock fires up, and so does the crowd as he launches the 500-pounder around and even accidentally hits an FU. Brock rolls Show onto the stretcher board, which he's placed on the forklift, and drives him over the yellow line in reverse to ace his driving test, retain his WWE Championship, and, biggest of all, win the award half-named in his honor for Best Match of the Night, the Brockburg. It had Brock Lesnar and a forklift in the same match. There was just no competition. And unlike Johnny Gargano, Brock is elated to see the pay-per-view trademark graphic pop up as we fade to black on Judgment Day 2003. I hope you enjoyed this debut episode of WrestleReward. Follow me on Twitter at Justin_S of OK, and remember to like, subscribe, comment, tweet, bleat, Instagram, Facebook, email, WhatsApp, ProBoards, and everything else this video. See you next time.
We lie, we cheat, we still ace it!